I'd covered the right wing for the Washington Post and written books about it. And I was familiar with its tactics and its institutions and many of the people on the right. But David Brock, over a long period of time, months, gradually revealed to me the story of the Arkansas Project, which I had no information about.
The Arkansas Project, which Richard Mellon Scaife, who was the most significant benefactor of the American Spectator, ultimately spent more than $2 million on. It was a full-time effort to dig up any kind of dirt on the Clintons from their past and get it into print. It was essentially a very well-funded smear campaign. Scaife was very interested in pursuing extremely outlandish theories about the Clintons to in some way establish that they were part of essentially a criminal syndicate. And because he had so much money and he had his finger in so many institutions of the conservative movement, he ended up really corrupting those institutions. I mean, I can say for the Spectator for sure that we were pretty much primarily following these stories simply because Scaife was paying us to do it. On one of my reporting trips to Arkansas, I was introduced to someone named Parker Dozier.
56-year-old Parker Dozier was the head of a fur trappers trade group. The attorney that represented the group in Washington was closely connected to Richard Mellon Scaife. When they needed a man in Arkansas to be the eyes and ears of the Arkansas Project, it was Dozier who got the call.
I was taken up to his bait shop outside of Hot Springs. He was one of several people that I met in Arkansas who was extremely paranoid and seemed to think that because he was anti-Clinton, that the Clinton machine was out to get him and possibly even kill him. So he took me out this particular evening and wanted to instruct me on how to fire a pistol. Then he bragged about his own relationship with Jennifer Flowers, which I found hysterical, since he was feeding me all this gossip about Clinton as if he was somehow morally outraged, and at the same time telling me that he had done the same or worse. And then he also bragged that a significant amount of time was spent with David Hale by the Arkansas figures in Washington who would go down there. They'd meet with Hale in a house in West Little Rock that Dozier owned and rented to the Spectator.
David Hale was a judge. He was a lawyer. He was connected. He had money. He had not, on the surface at least, seemed to operate in the kind of way that, say, Larry Case had operated. He seemed to be an upstanding member of Little Rock society. In fact, he was anything but. He was known by anybody who'd ever covered the courthouse as a serial liar, involved in any number of sleazy deals, some borderline legally. He also ran a little lending business on the side that was thoroughly corrupt. If it ever did a straight deal, nobody ever reported it. Nearly every deal he did was a flim-flam.
David Hale got away with just about anything, and did for a long, long time. And only when it caved in did he start looking for another life preserver to grab onto. And that was Bill Clinton being elected president and concocting basically the story that he could do.
The David Hale case was an open matter in the United States Attorney's Office when I got there. In July of 1993, there was a search warrant executed at David Hale's business.
It's in here. Break it down.
And when he was indicted in September of 1993, he was willing to do, I believe, whatever he could possibly do to escape his fate in that criminal investigation. And if that meant destroying other people's lives, if it meant causing problems for the country, if it meant the waste of millions of dollars in taxpayer money and resources, he didn't care. He was trying to avoid the inevitable results of his own wrongdoing.
In an effort to get the U.S. attorney to go easy on Hale, the mysterious Arkansas Project finds him a high-powered attorney, Ted Olson, Federalist Society stalwart, Scaife confidant, and former Reagan appointee. Soon, Hale and his new allies try a daring strategy. They tie his legal problems to President Clinton. However, the strategy is unsuccessful, and David Hale is sentenced to 28 months in federal prison. But the publicity and continuing questions about the Clintons' personal finances prompt a growing chorus of critics to call for the appointment of an independent counsel. On January 12, 1994, Attorney General Janet Reno named Robert Fisk, one of the country's most respected attorneys and the leader of the American Bar Association, to head the office.